How's it going, Bladers? Today I have another exciting tournament commentary video for you where we are running full defense in the Hasbro Stadium. Stay tuned to the end, the results might surprise you. Jumping into the first match here, we have Impact Drake 960 Underneedle versus Tyranno Beat 160 Rush. Alright, so right off the bat, just two things. Number one, I launched early. Never good to launch early or late. Puts you at a severe disadvantage most of the time. And number two, positioning was very bad here. Set me up at the bottom. Easy target to hit. You definitely don't want to do that, especially for Hasbro. So we just lock in with Silver Wolf, 780 Hexa. I feel very confident about this matchup. As you can see, Silver Wolf great at counterattacking. Already has Whale Wave leaning on its side. Uses all of its stamina just to stand back up. And Whale Wave can no longer retaliate. And that is just an easy spin finish for me. Now, this next one is going to be a little interesting because I'm using Aero Pegasus 160 ball against Wizard Rod 560 ball. So my strategy here is to just launch relatively hard, a little tilted, just because I want to land the destabilizing hits, which luckily I do here. And Wizard Rod is taking some serious damage. It is wilting out. And even more destabilizing hits. Not doing it any favors here. And I get the spin finish. So into the reshuffle here, I don't change up my order. I want to redeem myself with Impact Drake. So let's see what our opponent picks here. So our opponent locks in the Whale Wave on level. So right here, I learned from my mistakes, not launching low, launching on time. So let's see if the results are a little different. And it is very different this time. Impact Drake immediately lands, gets the counter hit, instant extreme. Very clean match for me. Moving on to our second match here, unfortunately I was matched with my teammate, Sunbro. And since this is double elim, one of us is taking a loss here. As you can see, he's using the MBBC Special Crimson Garuda 560 RA. Almost gets some very clean knockouts, but Impact Drake holding strong and gets the counter hit, sending him straight into the overfinish. Now honestly, this Garuda did some pretty crazy things in this tournament. So if you want to see his perspective, let me know and I'll make a video on it. Moving on to the second match, we have Phoenix Wing versus Silver Wolf. Phoenix Wing is on Underneedle, so you can expect a bit more stamina. A lot of very tame clashings, but since this is Phoenix Wing, any blade can just fly out at a moment's notice. Seems like they're just wilting out. And Silver Wolf takes that with a spin finish. And now we have Aero Pegasus 160 ball versus Wizard Rod 760 Hexa. So now I'm just going to tilt backward, try to get Hexa off its axis, just so it burns through its stamina, and I get a very clean over finish there. So very unfortunate, I do send him into the loser's bracket. Moving on to the third match here, it is my Impact Drake versus his Dran Buster. Unfortunately, I did stop the recording just because I thought I wasn't recording. So you're going to see a skip here. And in this skip, we already completed the match with Silver Wolf and Cobalt Dragoon. However, it was a tie. So here we are just redoing it. So I did launch relatively hard, which sent Silverwolf into a frenzy here. Reason I did that is just so I could try and outspin the Cobalt Dragoon, just because Hexa versus Elevate, if the Hexa is on a Stamina Blade, it is very close. And here, yet again, it's pretty much a repeat of the first battle we just did. So we checked the footage, and we had 3 people watch the footage. We couldn't come to an agreement, so we just handshook to basically move on to the next bay. So I am up against Cobalt Drake, and he gets a very nice over finish here. Anything that pops out of that shroud there for this tournament counts as an over finish, so that is 2 points for him. So for the next battle, we have Cobalt Drake versus Impact Drake here. So honestly, the plan is to just get in from behind, try to get to the top left corner and avoid all confrontation from the extreme dashes. So we do manage to find that, and a very unfortunate extreme finish here. Cobalt Drake just slides into the pocket. We finally made it to the semifinals here. Impact Drake Underneedle versus Impact Drake Rush. So again, same strategy. I'm just going to try to get behind. Unfortunately, I do get extremed here. Didn't go deep enough into that corner, so I just put myself in a very bad spot. But I still feel fairly confident. It's now Silverwolf on Hexa versus Rod on Level. So all I really have to do here is get a really nice hit, and Rod just goes flying into the pocket. I guess that is the thing about Level on Hasbro. It is very hard to control, and you do see a lot of self KOs like that. Now Aero Pegasus versus Tyranno Beat. Lots of recoil. I do get that counter hit. Very nice lineup on my end. Do manage to get the perfect spot, the perfect angle. Manages to find that hit. So now I am 1 point from winning. I noticed with my deck, the highest chance of winning was with Silverwolf, just because nothing directly beats Silverwolf. So I decided to put that out first, just to secure the last point. Here we see surviving all the hits and getting that last counter hit. Silverwolf sends me into the finals. So we have now made it to finals. And yet again, we are up against Sunbro, who fought his way all the way through the losers bracket. So we're going to have a very nice rematch here. Impact versus Wizard Rod. Again, I get the super nice launch into the corner. Doesn't quite find the killing blow. But like I mentioned before, Underneedle has really good chances versus Hexa. Wizard Rod almost getting the KO there, but it destabilizes itself in the process, and you can see it waning out here. It's looking very close, but Impact Drake does take it. Next up, we have Silverwolf versus Phoenix Wing. Another Hexa versus Underneedle matchup. So right here, I launch with medium strength. I don't want to go too hard to self-KO myself, but I also don't want to go too light that Underneedle just outspins my Silverwolf for free. So I compromise by going a little bit in the middle. And let's see if it pays off here. Silverwolf, especially on 80 height, really good at tanking those blows. So we're not seeing a lot of big impact coming out from Phoenix Wing, but Phoenix Wing does take it on that Underneedle. Next up, we have an explosive matchup with Aero Pegasus and Crimson Garuda. This one can go either way. Crimson Garuda on Rubber Excel, really good at, yeah, I can't even finish my sentence. Really good at knocking things out without getting knocked out itself, just because of that Rubber Excel bit. So going into the reshuffle, just thinking about it a little bit, all of my bays are relatively pretty good against his. The only thing that I would struggle against really is his Crimson Garuda. Very, very scary threat. So I opt to just open up with the Impact Drake, just because that's the best odds. And we do call it out. That is the Crimson Garuda versus Impact Drake, which, in my opinion, Impact Drake should win this matchup, just because it does have the rubber to tank hits and the Underneedle to counterattack. So let's see how it goes. He's aiming at the pocket here, so I opt to just not go into the pocket. Very light hit, but there's no knockout yet. And at this point, they're both attack blades, so there can still be a knockout. Almost get extreme there, but Impact Drake holds strong and gets the spin finish. Now this one, I would say, is a losing matchup for Silverwolf. The only caveat here is that we are on Hasbro, so it's kind of a game of chicken. We're both on Hexa, we both want to outspin each other, but we can't launch hard to the point where that happens. So I do self-KO, launched a little bit too hard, so that is his 2 points, so he wins. Leading up to grand finals now, bracket has reset. We're both on our last life. We open up with Impact Drake versus Wizard Rod. So again, just aiming for that pocket, managed to find it. And this match could honestly go either way. Impact Drake being so low to the ground, very good at destabilizing Hexa bits. And so far, in terms of spin power, we actually see Impact Drake with the advantage. However, with that Extreme Rail touch, it does lose all its stamina, unfortunately, and Wizard Rod gets the spin finish. Next up, we have Silverwolf, Hexa versus Phoenix Wing Underneedle. Basically the same matchup here. I reeled my launch back a little bit, try to launch a little bit lighter, a little bit more precise, just so I don't self-KO, and I can outlast the Underneedle bit. You do need a really precise and, I wouldn't say hard launch, but you need a good launch against Underneedle, just because that point gives it a little bit more stamina than Hexa, so you need to be very much on point when launching here. And as we can see, Silverwolf does manage to outspin the Underneedle Phoenix. Now last up, we have a very scary matchup. Aero Pegasus versus Crimson Garuda. This can just go either way. As you can see, I almost land in the pocket there. Almost knocks me out. And again. But Aero Pegasus holding strong, getting those counter hits. And we do get the spin finish. So again, same strategy as before. Impact Drake being my strongest. I don't really see a reason to swap the order of my deck. Just because Aero Pegasus is a really strong counter hitter. But there is no need to put myself at risk by accidentally counter hitting myself into the pocket. So just opt for the same order. Impact Drake being the best chance of winning here. I opt to just pick that first, and it ends up being paired up against his Phoenix Wing on Underneedle. So again, same launch, a little bit tilted, Impact Drake going crazy, and just before it dies out, it gets that over finish. If you guys have watched my content, you know that Impact Drake doesn't really need a lot of spin power to get those knockouts. It just needs the right angle and the right opportunity, gets the knockout there. So next up, I feel very confident about this matchup, Silverwolf versus Garuda, just because I know that Silverwolf can take a lot of blows and counter hit effectively. Luckily, Garuda does miss the extreme there. Almost gets me into the extreme, but with that 80 height ratchet, it is so hard to knock this bait into the extreme zone. And I get the spin finish, which makes me the champion of this tournament. With the tournament done and over with, it's time to see how well these combos performed with points. Up first, we have Impact Drake with 14 points won, 6 points lost, 7 rounds won, and 3 rounds lost. Next up, we have Silverwolf with 8 points won, 3 points lost, 6 rounds won, and 2 rounds lost. Last but not least, we have Aero Pegasus with 6 points won, 4 points lost, 4 rounds won, and 2 rounds lost. So what did you guys think of the matches? Is defense the secret weapon for the Hasbro Stadium? Let me know your thoughts down below. And if you want to see more tournament commentaries, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.